Yes, people, what is going on? Welcome back to the channel. I go by the name of Liam, and today we have a Manchester United update for you. A little bit surprising today. I was scrolling on Twitter, and I saw quite a few reports saying that Rasmus Hojlund has come out, saying he would be keen on a return to Italy, and he likes the Inter project. So Inter Milan obviously have been interested in recently. We know they're having a little rebuild after their Champions League defeat. If you can class it as a defeat, they got absolutely annihilated by PSG, who also annihilated Atletico Madrid. If anyone's watching the Clubs World Cup, I don't think anyone is watching it, but they won 4-0. So PSG are currently on a roll. So yeah, back to Hojlund. Apparently he likes the thought of Italy. Obviously he played his football there before. He knows there's potential interest from Inter Milan, which would also get him in the Champions League. But from a Man United point of view, we know we massively overpaid for him. So we paid a lot of money compared to what he's worth now. After the season he had last year, his value must have shot down. But potentially, if he does go to Inter, we could see us potentially breaking even on him. Which means, you know, the installments that we're paying out, we could reuse on another player. So they would effectively be wiped off. We could then get another player in similar and, you know, set up some more installments. So it would massively help our books. It would also get Hojlund's wages off our books, allowing us to buy somebody else. And I was thinking, if we can do that for like 3 or 4 players, imagine he does go to Inter and then we end up selling Rashford, Antony, Sancho. Who else is available? I can't even remember. But let's just use those for now. So we'll say Hojlund, Sancho, Garnacho, Rashford and Antony. That's 5 players. If they go, we could potentially get 5 more players in. Maybe not so much with Sancho because his value's gone down and down. He's only got 1 year left. Garnacho, again, we're not paying anything for him, but that would be all profit. So we would potentially clear what we owe for Hojlund, the last little bit for Sancho. Rashford and Garnacho would be profit. So any money we get from them, we could just re-spend on players without clearing any prior debts. And then Antony as well. We could clear off what we owe him. And then we could potentially set up 5 new transfers. So we could bring 3, 4, 5 players in and, you know, almost start again. But our wages would be better because we're getting rid of people like Rashford, who's on silly wages, Sancho. And as long as we're sensible with the players that we're bringing in, after moving those players on and bringing new players in, we'd be in a better financial position. So I think, personally, I like Hojlund. I still think he's got a lot to show. I think he just needs that confidence and, you know, there is a good player in there. But I just think if Inter are willing and they're going to pay the money, then we have to let him go. I mean, if the people we're being linked to come to anything, so if Gyökeres does appear or Osimhen, even Ekitike, I think they all offer more than Hojlund, unfortunately. I do like Hojlund, as I said. I really wanted it to work out. And I'd be happy if he does stay another year and, you know, play alongside a prolific striker if we find one. But also, at the same time, if Inter are coming in and offering the money, we have to take it at the moment. We need money in. We need to buy players. So I think that's all we can do. Comment below, let me know your thoughts. Would you be happy with Hojlund going? Obviously, after the last season, most of you are going to say yes. But if you think of a bigger picture, there is a player in there and we just need to see him. But as always, comment below, let me know your thoughts. There's been a lot of striker talk recently. First of all, there was a whole Gyökeres thing. Not interested in Arsenal. Arsenal froze talks. Back to Man United. Then we moved on to Osimhen. Not going to Saudi. Asking around who's going to pay the most wages. Now might go to Saudi. Ekitike. Linked to Chelsea, linked to Newcastle. No, Liverpool. Liverpool and Chelsea. News went a bit quiet, linked to Man United. Then news out of Germany started saying that we were in for him. We were having direct conversations with the club. Fabrizio came out saying no contact has been made. But today, more news is flowing around that Frankfurt, where he currently plays his club football, would be interested in selling him for around the amount that they got for Marmoush. Now, as we all know, Marmoush joined Man City for 63 million. So, for me, that says he's probably available at around 60 million, which I think is very clever. There's been lots of strikers at the moment who have been told they can go for around 60 million. The Gyökeres gentleman's agreement, I think, was around 60. maybe a bit less. I want to say 55. Obviously, Man United's recent sign-in, Cunha, was just over 60. Apparently, Brentford are holding out for 60. So 60 does seem to be the going rate at the moment for players in general, it seems. Obviously, Marmoush left for 63. And Frankfurt are saying that's all they want. I say all they want because up until today, we were told it was going to cost 100 million to get Ekitike away. And to be honest, I'm still not sure how I feel about it. At 100 million, I would definitely say no. I don't think he's a £100 million player yet. Maybe he could be in the future. But also, I don't think he's the type of striker that we need. I think he suits a Liverpool, maybe a Chelsea, perfectly because of how Liverpool play especially. He could be that player. But at Man United, I feel the system and the players we have need more of a Gyökeres. We need someone who can hold up the ball, someone stronger, someone who can take on defenders when they need to, but, you know, still hold up the ball, help out midfielders, join the attack, get our 2 new number 10s involved. And for me, that's Gyökeres. However, would I be willing to punt on Ekitike? Yes, if Gyökeres and Osimhen are off the table. While those two are still potentially in the mix, I would have to say no, because I would want one of those two. However, if they vanish or they go to other clubs, let's say Gyökeres goes to Arsenal, Osimhen goes to Saudi, then yes, I would take Ekitike. But he's not my first choice. I place him higher than Mateta and people like that, but he's not my first choice. But potentially, you know, he's better than what we've got. So we'll have to see how that one ends up. What would you guys do? 60 million. If you had a choice now to sign him, are you paying the money? Is he joining your club for 60 mil? This is not the news that we all wanted. Probably not the news you expected. You've seen it already from the thumbnail. You know the title of the video. You know what this is about. Onana looks set to stay for at least another year. The Athletic are reporting today that Andre Onana's representatives had a meeting with Manchester United key figures last week, and he is expected to stay this summer. Manchester United have informed his team that they are still looking to sign a number 2 goalkeeper who would be a backup to provide competition for the number 1 spot. Basically, we cannot get rid of him. No one's going to buy him. His value's too high. His wages are too high. People just don't want him. I think they've seen how he performed last season. They realised he's not the goalkeeper we thought he was or anybody else. And we can't sell him. So that's why he has to stay. I think Man United are being quite nice about this. They're saying, okay, well, you can stay, but we're going to sign somebody else as competition. What they're basically doing is signing a new number 1 goalkeeper. Onana's going to be dropped to the bench. And then this time next year, his agent's going to come back being like, I need game time. I want to force a move. Which they're not going to do now because they're still under the impression that he can be number 1. Even though he doesn't wear number 1, but the starting goalkeeper, you know what I mean. So I don't see why we don't just say that now. We don't just say he has no chance with us. Amorim wants his own goalkeeper. You messed up too much. You've had multiple chances. We should never have got rid of De Gea. But we did, and you're here. But unfortunately, we've reached the end of a platform and your time's done. You're not going to start. Because then I feel once that urgency kicks in, they would find a move. If they need to for, I don't know, World Cup or any other potential, you know, things that he might be missing out on by not starting, I feel like his team would find a move if they had to. But at the moment, they're probably content. He's on a big wage. He's probably under the impression he's going to start. Personally, I wouldn't start him. I would buy another goalkeeper because I don't think any of our goalkeepers at the moment are good enough. I would bring someone in, give him the number 1 shirt because he doesn't wear number 1 anyway. So I'd give someone a number 1 shirt. First game of the season, Onana would be on the bench. Unless we sign Emi Martinez because he's going to have a 3-match ban. In which case I would give Onana 3 games to prove himself. On the 4th game, if he's conceded any goals or made any mistakes, he would be on the bench. And that's how I would do it. I would keep him for 3 games. Unless we sign Costa or someone from Portugal, in which case I wouldn't give him any games. I would sub him now and that's it. But am I being too harsh? You tell me. Comment below, let me know what you would do in this situation. Would you keep him on for another year? Would you try force him out now? Maybe get some money for him? Or even a loan? I mean, if someone in Saudi does actually want him, now's a great time to throw some money at us. To 2 possibilities of Jadon Sancho leaving. So the first one, I don't think it's any surprise. Anywhere you look online at the moment, you can see about this. Napoli. Now, they are also interested in Grealish from Man City, as well as Garnacho, also from Man United, obviously. The thing is, there's a limit on the non-EU players they can bring in. If you remember last season, Manchester City cost Marcus Rashford going to Milan because they signed Kyle Walker, which meant they couldn't sign another player from England, which obviously was Rashford. So that fell through. They did get Kyle Walker, who apparently today has been linked to Everton. Bit crazy. But yeah, so that meant the Rashford thing fell through. So what's being read online today is that Napoli are interested in Sancho, but are leaning towards a loan over a permanent deal. So they don't actually want to buy him. I think it's going to be very difficult to sell him because he's got 1 year left on his contract. His wages are very high. And if we're demanding a fee as well, it's just going to put a lot of people off. If they can loan him, obviously there's no fee. So they can use the money they would have paid to buy him on his wages. And then if it goes well there, they can potentially try and sign him on a free after this season. Which, from United's perspective, you know, it gets him off the books. It gets him away from the club. So it would probably suit all parties, if I'm honest. But there has also been interest from Napoli in the other two players we mentioned. So Garnacho and Grealish. They would, if they sign Sancho, they would also be able to buy one of the other two. So they could potentially loan Sancho and then sign Grealish or sign Garnacho. But again, where they'll go with that, who knows? I think the only option for them in regards to Sancho is a loan. They don't want to buy him because they're not placing Sancho above Grealish or Garnacho. And realistically, Sancho's probably the only loan option out of those three. So that's where their head's at. But there has also been interest from the Saudi League for Sancho. So apparently several Saudi Pro League teams are apparently also interested in Jadon Sancho. Which would be very interesting because we know that money would be no issue. So considering Jadon Sancho turned down playing in the Champions League for her team who wanted him for 150k a week over money, he's clearly money driven, money focused. He wants to get paid. So if he does go to the Saudi League, I'm not sure whether he would accept it, whether he would think he's too big for it. But realistically, his England career is over. There's no chance he's getting a call up anytime soon. So why not go to Saudi? He could probably get about 300k to 400 a week over there. And they'd probably pay about 20 or 30 million for him. So Man United would be better off. He would be much better off. And I think he's only like 27. So he could go there for 2 or 3 years, like refocus, find himself, and then potentially come back. If he's, you know, making an impact for himself, doing well over there, English clubs would want him. Italian clubs would want him. Even German clubs, where he probably wants to play, would still want him. So if I was him, I think I would go to Saudi. I'd get the bargain. I'd make as much money as I could for the next couple of years. And then I'd either set myself up for life, or I would prepare myself to come back and make a comeback. But that's just my thoughts. Where do you see Sancho going? Do you see him going to Italy? Do we think Dortmund are going to come in for him again? Or is the Saudi Pro League calling him? Is that big payday coming? Apparently, there's been a new name linked to Manchester United. Plays in the French League. We may remember him from the Europa League quarterfinal. I think it was the quarters. But Manchester United want to sign Malik Fofana from Lyon. Now, I know what you're thinking. This is not the type of player that you saw Man United signing, considering he's a left winger. But Man United are obviously aware of him. Remember when we played Lyon and we had 10 men? He's the one who came on, played on the left wing, absolutely tore us apart. Won a penalty, if you remember that challenge from Luke Shaw, and nearly knocked us out of Europa League. Obviously, that was a very surprising game, but he is definitely a very promising player for this future. I was going to say for the season then. So yeah, very promising. He can use both feet, so he can play on the right wing and the left. And last season, in his first sort of breakthrough season, he scored 11 goals and also got 5 assists. So he didn't start, I think it was about 50% of his games he started, maybe a little bit more. But he was an impact substitute as well, like we saw him in Europa. So, yeah, I mean, potentially he's got everything we need. You could say he's very similar to the likes of Garnacho, maybe Anthony, some of the other wingers were moving away. However, the way I see this working, is if Amarin speaks to him beforehand, if we do actually proceed with it, and tries to maybe invert him to a wing-back role, kind of similar to Ahmad. If we can have his sort of speed on the ball, the way he can sort of turn the game around, pick up the ball and, you know, just get straight on the attack, him and Ahmad on each wing-back position would be very good. We would obviously need a lot more defensive cover from the centre-backs and maybe the midfielders just ahead of them. But him and Ahmad on each wing, I mean, we'd have to see if it works. You can't just say, do that, and, you know, they do it. But it could potentially work. It's not the craziest thing we've heard. Again, there are strong links about him online today. I also know Chelsea have gone for him. So it may be them trying to push up his price, linking him to Man United when there's no intention of it. But they just know that saying Man United could potentially force Chelsea to hurry up. But if there is any truth to it, or we can potentially make it happen, I would definitely be up for it. I think it could be good. But yeah, if it is any way it can happen, I think we should go for it. He's 20 years old, and the numbers being reported are around 20 to 30 million. But Manchester United have also said they're looking to fill their key positions first. So this is by no means a priority. There are other positions that we would need to get sorted first. But if this can be done, it would definitely show that Ineos are thinking a little bit outside of a box. We're not just going for the basic signings that you would expect. But what do you guys think? If we can make this happen, obviously there's other signings that need to be done first, but would you be happy with this? Comment below and let me know. As always, thank you for watching. If you're new here, please subscribe to the channel. Drop a like on this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.